the pleasure of introducing to you a wonderful, powerful, great leader in our nation today that God is raising up for this time. We'd like you to please give a very warm Houston welcome to Brigitte Gabriel.
Thank you very much for being here tonight. I am honored and delighted to be here with you. I know you're very busy people, you have a lot of things to do, and I really appreciate you taking the time tonight away from your busy schedule and coming here to hear me speak. You could have been home watching President Obama deliver his address about the oil spill, but you chose to be here with me. I'm sorry, I had to say this, I couldn't resist. The devil made me do it. Okay, forgive me, Lord. Now I can go on with the presentation. I cleared my conscience. I am delighted to be here and excited about this event. And before I start, all of you know that to put an event like this together, it takes a team of volunteers, dedicated volunteers, who put a lot of time and effort to pull all the details and all the things and make it all happen. And right now, I would like to acknowledge and give a special thanks to the following individuals. Susan Watts, Saul Garfield, Pam Lowe, our chapter leader as well, Missy Campbell, Richard Smith, and Alexander Thomas. A humble thank you from the bottom of my heart. And please stand up and be recognized if you're in the audience. Thank you. Well, as you all know very well, I'm very passionate about the issue of national security. This issue drives me. It has affected my life growing up as a child. And because of that, after September 11th, I realized what my purpose in life was. My purpose was to warn Americans about the threat coming their way, our way, my family's way. I have a husband and 2 children who live here in this country. And I wanted to make sure that my children will never go through what I went through as a child because of radical Islam. And this is why I travel the country today and I speak about the subject. And for those of you who do not know much about me, I'm going to give you a few-minute history of my background as to why I am so driven. I come from Lebanon, which used to be the only majority Christian country in the Middle East. We were open-minded, we were tolerant, we were fair, we were multicultural. We prided ourselves on our multiculturalism. We had open border policy. We welcomed everyone into our country because we wanted to share with them the westernization which we had created in the heart of the Arabic Middle East. We were good in business, we prospered, we built the country. In a very short period of time after our independence, Lebanon became Paris of the Middle East, the banking capital of the Middle East, even though we did not have any oil. Muslims used to send their children to study in my country because we had built the best universities in the Arabic Middle East. They graduated and stayed and worked in our economy because we had built the best economy in the Middle East, even though we did not have any oil. We were living the good life, but all that unfortunately began to change. 20, 30 years after we got our independence, the population started shifting. The Muslims became the majority in the country because of the way they multiply, and because of our open border policy, inviting everybody in, and even taking in the Palestinians who were kicked out of Arabic countries, who none of the Arabic countries, their Muslim brethren, wanted them. Lebanon was the only country to take a 3rd wave of Palestinian refugees. Once the Palestinians came to Lebanon, they put their heads together with the majority Muslims in Lebanon and declared war on the Christians. And they started killing the Christians. They wanted to build a base from which to fight Israel, kill the Jews, and throw them into the sea, using Lebanese democracy to basically topple our democracy, something they were not able to do in Jordan because of the dictatorship of the king. But they came to Lebanon and they found a home because of the way we thought, because of our laws, because of the way we treated them. By 1975, the combined forces of Islamists put their heads together and created an army called Jaysh Libnan al-Arabi and began killing the Christians. They surrounded the Christian towns, taking us over as they advanced through the country, funded by all the Arabic money, by all the money coming from the Arabic world, like Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states who were swimming with oil, with the newfound oil. And it funded their propaganda campaign, and it funded their military and provided them with the weaponry. And they started taking over Christian towns and cities in my home, in my hometown, in my home country. They took over most of the country. I lived in the south, in a little town called Marjayoun. We were surrounded to be slaughtered, and we knew what our fate was going to be because we heard stories about what happened to other Christians in different areas in Lebanon, where their Muslim neighbors attacked them and took over their countries and their towns. They used to walk, the stories we used to hear is Muslims used to come into a Christian town. They used to walk into the bomb shelters. If they would find a mother and a baby hiding in a bomb shelter, they would take the baby, tie one leg of the baby to the mother and another leg to the father, and pull the parents apart, splitting the child in half. They committed monstrosities that were seldom reported in the Western media because all the Western media was located in West Beirut, the area that the Muslims controlled, the same area that Israel bombarded in 2006 because now it is completely infested and taken over by Hezbollah, the party of Allah founded by Iran and set up in Lebanon. They would walk into our churches. They would destroy our churches. They would urinate and defecate on our altar using the Bible as toilet paper and then torch our churches. This became our reality. When they would walk to the families to massacre the families, those Christians who were on the left, who would tell them, listen, you cannot kill us. We marched with you. We fought for your rights. We represented you in the courts. We empowered you. We are on your side. And the Muslim radicals would look at them and they would tell them, you are nothing more than a filthy infidel. You are no better than the other Christians and you deserve to die. And those who escaped and they were able to make it to our hometown, to my hometown, Marjayoun, by the time they woke up, it was too late to do anything about it. They realized they were used as the useful idiots as the radicals advanced their agenda throughout the country. And this became my life. In 1975, I was 10 years old. That's when the Muslims blew up my home, bringing it down, burying me under the rubble, as they tried to take over my town, and as they shouted, Allahu Akbar. My only crime was that I was living in a Christian town. I ended up in a hospital for 2.5 months. And people would come visit my parents and they would be talking in my room and everybody would be surrounding my bed. And I was laying in a bed hooked up to IVs in both arms. And I would hear the stories that they would talk about. And I would ask my daddy, why do they hate us? Why did they do this to us? And my daddy would look at me and he would say, sweetie, because we are Christians, the Muslims consider us infidels and they want to kill us. So I knew since I was 10 years old that I wanted dead simply because I was born into the Christian faith and lived in a Christian town. I ended up living with my parents. When I came back home in an 8x10 room in an underground bomb shelter, trying to survive, because this became my new home. And we lived in that room underground, in that bunker, for 7 years of our life. From the age of 10 till the age of 17, that's how I lived throughout of my youth. The Muslims surrounded our town, cut off electricity, cut off water, cut off food supplies. We were freezing in the wintertime living underground. We lived in the mountains. To get some water, my mother and I would crawl under snipers' bullets to a nearby spring. And my mother had to use her stocking on top of the gallon of water to catch all the worms and all the rocks and all the junk so we can drink the water. And every time before we left our bomb shelter, we would say our last goodbyes because we did not know if we're going to come back alive or dead just to get a drink of water.